Had you be our first chatter before. Welcome, Alpha. All right,
Hey, Alpha, welcome, buddy.
let's move on, and I'm going to go ahead and give him credit real quick, and then we'll get started. But I'll ask you the questions like I said. I always ask. So how did you get started playing chess? Let's start there.
Okay, so I started playing chess when I was much younger, somewhere in the. Trying to remember exactly when it was. It was somewhere between 8 and 10 years old, is when I was starting to kind of learn some things. My uncle taught me how to move the pieces and stuff, and then destroyed me every game after that. Um, and back then, I didn't have access to much of anything to do with chess, unfortunately. I had three books from the library. I don't remember what any of them were, but I know one is a Bobby Fischer book for sure. And the other two, I'm unsure, but I read those books constantly. And then I tried to start a chess club in my middle school. That didn't go over well. I was kind of beat up for being the nerdy kid and fell out of chess, unfortunately, after that. I did not play another game against a human for almost 2 decades. So after that, I got back into it around Queen's Gambit time when everybody else was joining up. Because my wife wanted to learn how to play, and I was interested in getting back into it. So I started relearning everything and then teaching her, and then I fell into it again. And I have not stopped or looked back since. It's almost like I was missing chess for the last 20 years, and now that I've got it again, I'm just like craving it, and I need to eat all of the chess knowledge. So that's where I'm at. That's how I started.
Wow. All right, and so you've been the Queen's Gambit Netflix. I thought was excellent. Enjoyed it, loved it. I want to watch it again sometime soon. What got you into streaming as much, and why? And it's why only chess, or why chess? I don't know if you only do chess, but I haven't ever caught you doing anything but chess.
Well, I did do a few things at the beginning. A few months back, I was doing some video game stuff on Fridays, like playing Red Dead Redemption or whatever game I was playing at the time on my PS4. I was just kind of streaming. But I decided that I wanted to focus on chess because that's my primary focus right now in general, is to just get better at chess. And I figured it'd be best to grow a community around one thing as opposed to being a variety all over the place.
Nice.
So I started to just focus on just chess because that was where my goals were associated with. As far as streaming goes, I have been on and off streaming since since Blog TV was a thing. I'm not sure if you remember that site from back in the day.
No.
But I was streaming on Blog TV. I actually had quite a following. I still attest to the fact that I'm the reason why bacon's big on the internet. Because before bacon was a thing on the internet, I was under the handle of bacon on Blog TV because my younger sister and her friend were sausage and eggs. So we thought it'd be funny if I was bacon. And then I got a pretty good average of maybe 500 to 1,000 viewers on a regular basis there. And once I stopped, then I started seeing all this bacon stuff online. So I would like to just say now that that was because of me. I am the reason why bacon is a thing online. So after Blog TV, I kind of stopped. I was streaming on Twitch actually about 3 or 4 years ago. That's how I got affiliate, was back then. I didn't get affiliate as a chess streamer. I got affiliate as a Vainglory streamer a few years back. So that never really got much bigger than what it did. I was up for the potential for some teams were in the talk about making me a second for their support side of things. And then Vainglory, I'm not sure if you know about the game, but it died. It's pretty much just living off of community hosted servers at this point.
Oh my goodness.
So then we got to where we are now, where I just decided that I miss streaming. I love chess and I wanted to combine the two. So then I started streaming chess. And it's something that I could do because I don't have really the resources to stream some crazy bigger games. So it kind of worked out perfectly.
Pretty nice. Wow. Yeah, Alpha Canis Major says he's glad that you came back to chess. And he says you're a streaming legend, and I'd have to agree. I didn't know about the other platform. I didn't know about streaming. I didn't know about Twitch until November, December. So, and that's because our champion, Chess Wizard, actually turned me on to it.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I teach Chess Wizard and his two siblings in real life chess. And he was taking a class with me, and then COVID came. So we moved everything virtual. And then he's the one who told me at around November timeframe, he said, hey, I was thinking about streaming lessons in chess. I said, that sounds great. I thought, that's good. He'd be sharing his knowledge. And he said, yeah, but you teach me. So I'd rather have you stream chess lessons on, stream. It makes more sense. And I said, okay, I'll look into it. So he pushed me, he prompted me, he taught me some stuff. And when I was like trying to struggle, so as one example, as you might have seen on my stream, if I show a game, it'll actually show the Lichess board, because I do Lichess 99% of the time. And using an extension, I was able to put the players' names right above and below the board, and their clock right below and above the board. So it's a nice single unit. And he found that and told me how to do it. He goes, oh, God, here, do this, download that. And I'm like, so, yeah, I have to give him tons of credit for all that stuff. Hey, Sudaku, so we got a nice crowd in the house. Started out pretty nice. Thank you, Ratchet, for giving the shout out for Sudakus. It's always fun to have you in the house, too. We are doing a one-on-one lesson with our man, LinearStork. So hopefully if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask along the way. But my job as a one-on-one coach or instructor. So I've also had the question, what's the difference between a teacher and a coach? So I think of them pretty simply. When I teach, I could be teaching a concept, a principle. I can teach 1,000 people at one time. That's teaching. But when I coach, I try to find things to help individuals become better. I mean, that's my goal. I need to find a way to help LinearStork improve his game. Period. Easy breezy, simple thing to identify. All right, so I've created a study for LinearStork that we could go through some positions and we could talk and I could, pick his brain and see where he's at. And then later we will have, as normal, a game with a viewer. So any viewer can challenge LinearStork because we really don't care if he wins or loses. We'll make it casual. He's going to be hopefully talking to us throughout the game, telling us his thoughts, and he's used to that because he's a streamer guy, so as you know. So this will be easy for him as far as that part goes. Some of my students that never stream, and I tell them they have to think out loud, like every other move, I'm like, what are you thinking? Because they forget to speak, right? Because you don't normally think out loud when you're playing. But you should have no problem with that. All right.
Yeah, it's getting me to shut up. That's the hard part.
And if you have any, Linear, if you have any questions and any suggestions, let me know. So I've watched your stream. I like your stream. I think I've already given you a shout out. I'll give you another one out later for sure. But I like your stream, and you always espouse a lot of, hey, this is what you should do here. This is what you should do here. This is the concept here. And I love it because you cover concepts, and as you know, I teach using concepts and principles. And the reason I use concepts and principles primarily is because it's easier to learn, in my opinion, than trying to memorize moves. So I don't want you memorizing a bunch of moves. I want you memorizing principles that you could say, okay, I'm in the opening. There's 5 goals in the opening. You probably heard me say this before. There's 5 goals in the opening. Let's do them in order of importance. So Linear, just for fun. That isn't what your lesson is today, but what do you think the number 1 goal in the opening is?
Number 1 goal for the opening.
There's 5. What's the most important? Highest priority.
Most important, highest priority, king safety.
Easily
king safety.
All right. I disagree, but all right. It's okay. It's okay. What's another one? I think that one is actually number 4. What do you think so if that's number 4, what would you maybe think number 1 might be?
If that's number 4, I'm going to throw development to the top. If king safety isn't number 1, development would have to be number 1 in my opinion.
Amen. Yes. We've got it. That's where, guys, you do have sound effects. Feel free to redeem them anytime you want. I made them cheap enough. You can always, easy to use. Yes, development. What do you think the number 2 goal in the opening is?
Okay, so if we've got development at number 1, king safety at number 4, we're going to want central control being number 2.
That's number 5. Very good.
That's
Control
number
the
5.
center. You're awesome, though.
Ooh.
You've got it down. Look at you. You got number 4, you got number 5, and it's a trick question. Because like in real estate, do you know what's the most important thing in buying real estate?
Location, location, location.
So guess what the most important 3 goals are in opening?
Location, location, location.
Development.
And development.
You got it. All right. But that's the principles I try to teach my students so that they can say, okay, if development, it's a race. I need to develop faster than my opponent. If you notice, we don't have an opening situation on the board. We're not doing openings with linear. But that is, to me, the 5 most important goals. Develop. King safety, control the center. And I try to get my students to do that. And anything that pushes away from development, like moving pieces 2 and 3 times in the opening, I try to get them to avoid. Again, we're talking beginners. So I love it when I try to teach and I have people say, yeah, but, just go back. And if you go look at Grandmasters, go watch Hikaru, go watch Carlson, they'll move a piece 4 times in the opening. Okay. My simple rule of thumb is, that my students, me included, aren't good enough to make bad moves.
That is a very good way to say it.
I'm glad you like it.
Perfect way to say it.
By the way, one of the biggest joys as a teacher coach that I've ever had, and I had a chess recently, I was watching Flavio's stream, right? Flavio's another, we love Flavio, right? Flavio's stream, and he was talking to someone who was asking him questions, and he quoted me. He said, well, you know what Tiberian says? And I was like, whoa. That's, and he said the develop was the most, the top 3 goals in the opening, which I don't know what can make you feel better than for one of your students to not only remember the principle that you taught, but then to share it with others, right? That they are sharing that same. So feel free to take my saying that we're not good enough to make bad moves.
I am going to steal that one. I like that one. That one, that hits like a perfect mark. Just a perfect mark.
Awesome. I believe I stole the principle of the day, but I used principle of the week from you, right? Yep, that was yours. So awesome. All right. So here's a position. Now you can go into the study, linear, so you can see the same as me. You should have sync clicked at the bottom. On these, you can hit preview, but it doesn't matter because I didn't put in more than 1 move. But you could do these as a interact. One of the benefits of Lichess, the power of Lichess, is studies. And you can make them interactive where you can actually learn openings, you can learn, you can create puzzles, you can say, well, what would be the move I should make, and then the next move and the next move. And you could do it using an interactive study, which does basically kind of like if you've ever seen Chessable. You could build your own Chessable library, but you do it in right here for free in here. So I've created these.
I'm still actually trying to figure that one out.
I will happily show you that anytime you want. We can do that off stream, but I did that here. So for you to see it, because I gave you, did I make you a contributor? Yes, you're a contributor. So you'd have to hit preview. So we're on chapter 1. Hopefully you're there with me.
I think so. So I hit preview.
Yeah, if you hit preview, it'll actually make a move and then ask you for the correct move.
1 second here.
Sure. It's a little preview button down at the bottom. Do you see the preview button on the bottom right?
Yeah, I see it. It's like right underneath. There's a little eyeball by there, and then there's an octopus showing. It looks like it just made a move C6.
Yes. That's how it works. Now, I didn't finish doing these yet because I want you to work with me on what's supposed to happen.
Okay.
All right. So that's how you could do these, though, if you were in the preview mode. Okay. So it'll actually, I could give you these later, and you would not run them in preview. You just open up the study, right? I'd make you a non-contributor. If you're not a contributor, it works automatically where it's a study, where you got to.
Oh, cool.
But if it's your study, you'd have to say preview because it doesn't know if you want to actually create the study or if you're doing the if you want to use it.
Yeah.
All right, so it's very good. All right.
Oh,
So, what do you think? White. So, find the move for white.
Okay.
Agreed, Montague. I agree, sir.
So after c6, our knight's attacked.
Nice, king. Very nice.
So when it comes to our knight being attacked, I can see potentially a trade option that loses a pawn. Never mind. I was thinking knight b6 could be something potentially attacking that rook, but after trading, we just lose a pawn to the queen taking.
So, by the way, you can actually draw arrows, and I'll see them.
Oh, cool. Okay, I didn't know that. So I was just going to be real descriptive there.
That's the benefit of using the study also for when you stream. If you invite people to a study when you're collaborating at all, even if they're not live on camera with you, but you're like helping somebody in your viewership, if you invite them to the study, go ahead and draw an arrow. I should see the arrow. Unless you're in preview mode, then maybe I won't. So you might want to drop out of preview. Just click preview again so you're not in preview mode. And then we need to be synced, I believe. There you go. Now we're synced. Okay, so we say C4, C6 is the move, and then try drawing an arrow. I should see it.
Okay, can you see that arrow?
Nope, not yet. So look at your bottom left under A1. Ah, there you go. Now I see it. See it
okay,
now?
I had to leave preview mode. I was still in preview mode. That's why I couldn't do it.
You have to leave preview mode. Excellent. So yeah, you thought about that one, and you said that doesn't work. I lose a pawn. Okay, good. Go ahead.
Let's see. So, this f6 isn't going to work. It doesn't seem like I can get my knight to do anything productive on f6. I'm just really trying to place the knight somewhere that it'll actually be useful for something. And maybe knight to e7 check, forcing... Well, the rook wouldn't have to take, but if rook takes, queen could win this pawn here.
But like you said, the rook doesn't have to take, in which case, if, since you won't want to lose a pawn, plus you'll be losing a knight for a pawn even if he did take with the rook.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not going to work. So knight moves seem to not be the answer unless we're going backwards. And there's not really a good spot for this knight to go backwards, from what I can see. Like, we can drop him back to c3, drop back to e3, but those aren't very productive squares. So since we're not looking for this knight to, I wouldn't really feel these are really good moves unless I could reroute them on my next turn.
Okay.
And most squares are now occupied and controlled by pawns that my knight would really want to go to. So let's see here. So maybe rook to f3, threatening to take this pawn with check against the king would be a good idea.
Okay.
So rook f3, if they take the knight with pawn, so pawn takes knight, queen takes with check, winning the rook back. So we're basically winning in exchange, plus an extra pawn, realistically, if they don't trade on e4 here. So we can win the exchange with rook to f3. After pawn takes, queen takes with check, and then queen takes rook on e6 would be probably what I'd say is the best move here, winning the exchange.
All right. So I'm doing this on purpose. I will reveal. We'll have a big reveal. No, small reveal. In a minute. So that is the move that chat wants too.
Let me open chat back up here.
Oh, okay. But chat likes that move too. All right.
Now I'm not sure if that's a good move or a bad move.
Yeah. So let's say you did move here. What would black do? And sometimes it's easier to think that way if you flip the board, right? What would black do? That's going to be a new axiom, Ratchet. Ratchet has a new saying we're going to have to never trust chat.
That's actually a really good thing to get into the habit of doing.
So we
As
should
somebody
just
who
say
streams,
NTC,
never trust
right?
chat.
Yeah, never trust chat. A new thing.
They're devious.
NTC. We'll just have to create NTC.
Okay, so if we play here, black. So again, black has the option to take the knight. But
Which
if they
we know
do see
loses the rook.
which would lose the rook. Well, would lose the exchange, we should say. So they can sacrifice the exchange if they want, if there was any kind of additional play for them.
Okay, but
I
we already
think
knew that.
allowing me to take this pawn and win the exchange with this, while also applying pressure to these now isolated and doubled pawns, wouldn't be black's best idea to just take the knight.
Okay, good.
It would just ruin their structure. We could then potentially see an endgame where white's going to simply be better.
Right. And so we didn't have to look too hard at that because you already analyzed that as white and you knew it was good for white.
Mm-hmm.
So what is good for black?
So if we're looking for a move for black, we'd want to deal with the f7 threat. Because that would be that's the issue right now, is the check winning the rook. So we've got the option to either defend our pawn or move our rook out of the way. Defenses to the pawn could probably just be as simple as the queen moving to f8, e7, or e8, and just defend the pawn while also applying more pressure to e4.
Yeah, I don't think we like this one though.
No, we don't want that. I just like to say all the moves out loud as I'm going through them.
So I want you to, as you do that, we're going to start with your lesson a little bit early right now. As you think about moves like this, I want you to tell me immediately or as fast as you can, good or bad.
Okay.
So yes, these are all possible moves to try to protect the pawn. Right? So is this one and this one. So would we say this is good or bad real quick?
Bad.
Right. Good or bad?
Any move to e7 is bad. That would be bad move there.
How about
because
here?
They have 3 controlling. That's a bad move. You drop your queen.
Okay. How about here?
It's an okay move to accomplish our goal.
Quick. Keep looking. Quick.
Good move, but could be better. Bad move. Missed that knight for it. Okay.
Right.
So bad move.
Oh, you always have to think about this knight, this octopus knight, as I've been told. You always got to be considerate of the knight's ability, right? So, okay, so we've discounted those squares for the queen and for the rook. Right? The rook could go here, but it wouldn't be protecting the pawn. So you'd still drop a pawn. Right?
Yes.
All right, so the only queen move that is even feasible for you now, and is that, take a quick look at that, does that work? Or do you have the same problem?
You'd have the same problem with the fork.
All right, good.
The queen can't leave to guarding the c7 square.
All right, good. So now that we realize the queen is doing something here, and that black did this to kick the knight out, right? So the queen could become active, right? You might always ask yourself, why did black do this? Well, black did it because he wants the queen to be active. Right now, the queen is playing babysitter. Okay, so now that we remember and realize that the queen has a purpose, keep looking for a good move for black. Because if you can't find one, then white made a great move, right?
Yeah.
All right. Here,
and then you might just have to be forced to sacrifice that exchange just in order to not lose more material.
That's the possibility. So let's go through now. I gave you the quiz about the 5 goals in the opening.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go back a move. White was attacked by a pawn, correct?
Yes.
Every time you're attacked, you have up to 5 things you can do.
Oh. I accidentally clicked the wrong button. Sorry.
Okay. Every attack allows you up to 5 things to do in response to the attack.
Okay.
Okay. One of them could be ignore it, but we don't count that one, right? Like, I missed it. That's not a choice.
Yeah.
It's not a choice. All right. So choice-wise, I'm attacked. What are those 5 things? At up to 5 things. So some of those may not apply in this situation. But anytime that you're attacked, right? We're talking principle, concept, theoretical.
Yeah.
Anytime you're attacked, give me 5 things that you can do.
Okay, so I'm just going based off of the 4 that I use.
Good.
The trip method of defense.
Okay.
Take.
Okay, wait. So
retreat,
one you could take.
Interpose, protect.
Let's go. Let's do them one at a time. You could take
Okay.
it. No, you can't take it.
Nope.
Okay, go ahead. What's the next one?
Retreat.
Retreat. I call that one run away. And
that works too.
yeah, because I kind of do the Monty Python. Run away, run away, run away. Hurry, it's only but a flesh wound. Run away. Anyway, but the problem, and I like Sudaku's, who's on, I believe he's watching. Sudaku says, don't really run away, that you need to retreat in style, right? So,
yeah.
As an example, putting the knight here could have been retreating in style, right? If this knight wouldn't just take you off.
Yeah.
Okay, so that to him that would be like, hey, I'm going to retreat in style, but I call it running away. Okay. So one option is to run away, and you talked about it, and you weren't crazy about any of the squares you might run to. But go ahead. What was the next one?
The next, so we did take, retreat, interpose.
Interpose and you can't interpose with a pawn because there's no space.
Yeah.
What's another piece that's attacking you that you can never interpose with?
Another piece that's attacking you that you can't interpose with is the knight. You
Yes.
can't interpose against a knight or a pawn.
Excellent. Okay, so that's 3 of them. What was the next one?
The next would be protect,
Defend
which
the
doesn't
piece.
work here.
Right. So you could defend it with a piece or a pawn, right? But it is already defended. And you don't want to trade a pawn for a knight because that's 3 for 1, and so you don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
All right. So there's a 5th one, though.
Counterattack.
Yes. Now, I call that attacking something of equal or greater value.
Yeah.
But a counterattack. And so white chose the counterattack. All right, now I'm going to tell you my theory. Hey, Busy, I'm going to tell you my theory, and it's a simple one. I believe that the most common right answer, not 100%, definitely not 100%, it's not formulaic, right? But the most common right answer is to take the piece, which you couldn't do anyway as white.
Yeah.
But most times, when you have an option, and the option is there to take the piece, most of the time it's the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
The next right answer, I don't know. It could be run away, it could be protect, it could be interpose. But the least right answer, the answer that's right the least amount of time, is to counterattack. Attack something of equal or greater value. So, but when it's the right answer, it's awesome. All right, so it's a higher risk gain proposition. But when it's it's lower, it's higher risk. It's lower chance that it's the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what would you do as black?
Okay, so as black, after rook f3, so we've already eliminated queen moves. Sacrificing the exchange is still on the table, but is there anything more that we can do? Let's see. So we can't take either of the attackers. We can't retreat a pawn. Interposing won't work because white has clear control of f6.
Ah, so you're using the 5 about this attack. Outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding. I love it. That shows me comprehension and using what we just taught immediately. I am so proud. Keep going.
So protect was what we were discussing before we went backwards, because that's how we found the queen is not able to do any kind of protecting, because the queen's currently protecting.
And the knight can't do protecting.
Mm,
No, I'm sorry, the rook.
knight,
The rook can't do protecting.
yeah, rook can't do protecting.
Right.
So, but we do have a defender. We can play knight to e5, which will be defended by the pawn and protect f7. While also attacking the rook and counterattacking. So we're protecting and counterattacking simultaneously by protecting f7 and attacking the rook.
So it's also called a fork or double attack because you're attacking two pieces at the same time.
Yes, because we do already have the knight hanging as well.
All right.
So now they'll have to lose their knight.
Do they?
To save the rook.
What would they do? What could they do to try to save the knight?
Let's see. So to save their knight, I'm not actually seeing a way to save the knight right now, because the knight itself, like, we could in theory check the king, but that does nothing with the knight. I'm trying to see a way to save both pieces, because if we move the knight, knight takes rook, queen takes knight, and we've won the exchange as black. Oh, yeah, that is the check I missed right there. Because now rook takes, queen takes. That would just cause a mass exchange on f6 then, right? If we're looking as a way to go backwards? Knight f6 check. Does that work, though?
I don't know. You tell me.
Rook takes. Okay, so if rook takes...
Go through your choices again.
Queen takes, rook takes.
Right.
And that would save the rook.
That
And we would win the piece. In that. We do win a piece. But we would save the rook? So I don't think that actually works, does it?
What do you mean you win a piece?
Well, so if rook takes, queen takes. Like, queen has to take there, and then queen takes back. Queen takes. Oh no, we actually lose. I completely miscounted that. We lose our rook.
Right, and if you do this, white gets white saved his knight, right?
Oh yeah.
But is that the best move? Is that the best move for black? What else could black do?
Okay, so let's figure out what we can do for black here. We can move the king.
Where to?
I like the idea of king. I like the idea of king g7.
Why?
The reason is we're attacking the knight again, and we've actually created the threat to where this won't be any good for white now, because we've added the extra attacker. Before it was even attack to defend, so it's negative for the attacker to exchange there, but now we've added the extra attacker. So the rook is still hanging, which means that this knight is going to be completely, like, it's going to be lost, because after the rook is forced to move, otherwise they're going to lose it there, assuming that that's the course of events. Once we add the other attacker here, we've just basically renewed the threat that they tried to get rid of with this check. Now their knight's hanging and their rook's under attack as well.
So again, we're back to two pieces under attack at the same time.
Yeah.
Very good. So this was a trick puzzle in a sense. I kind of tricked you a little bit, because the best move here is not rook to f3 because of the resource of knight to e5.
Knight to e5?
Well, yeah. That's the one we just talked
here.
about, knight to e5.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be the best move from the last position because of that knight to... Okay.
So the best move was just to retreat your knight.
Huh.
Now, why do you think you didn't find that you should just retreat your knight?
One of the big reasons is because retreating moves are generally hard to see. I would say.
Okay.
The reason I didn't retreat my knight is it didn't seem as active. Like, as white, it doesn't seem to be the most active move.
Okay. I have another theory. Because you thought it was a puzzle.
Maybe?
Most puzzles, right? If I give you a puzzle to solve, most of the times you have to find a good move. And usually a good move is a winning move. Winning material, winning an exchange, right? Doing something good.
Yeah.
This is avoiding something bad. You're under attack, and you just got to run away because you don't have anything better than running away.
That's true.
So that's a lousy puzzle, right? What is that? What's wrong with that guy? What did he give you a puzzle like that for?
I like puzzles like that, honestly. There's not enough puzzles like that.
Well, here's one for you. You can use it. It's in a study. It's public. Feel free to share it. So the question, though, is one part of this lesson for you today is about using puzzles to improve. I have my theories about using puzzles, and we're going to discuss that a little bit, but also finding these moves. So chat liked it, you liked it, we went with this, but it actually is a losing move. Okay, it's a losing move, but we went with it, and I think partly because we're looking for something, we're looking for winning moves, and two, my little theory about it's always riskier to attack, right? Not to run away, but to attack something of equal or greater value, leaving this in pre is always risky. Leaving things in pre is always risky. All right, so I wanted to go that route first and talk, so a little bit about puzzles I'll give you. I've been struggling trying to help my students and myself and say why, although I do so many more puzzles than I've ever done in my life, because now there's Chess, there's chess.com, there's all this stuff going on. I mean, we do Puzzle Racer, we do Puzzle Streaks, we do all these puzzles. Why are we not doing, 20 times better in our games after doing all these puzzles? I feel like we do better. I think we identify patterns every once in a while faster. Like, I think most people see smothered mate opportunities in their sleep. So, we're getting better at some of these. But why don't they translate better, faster into wins and, better chess? And I think part of the reason that is because when you're doing the puzzle, we're not really setting it up on the board and analyzing the whole game and just deciding what move would I make in the game. We are preconditioned now, because they are so prevalent, to go, I got to find the winning move. And we even use Rosman's look for checks, captures, attacks, right, and threats. And if it isn't one of those, you figure, this isn't a real puzzle. There's something wrong here. I must not have figured it out. If I decide to move my knight here, I'm obviously missing the puzzle. I messed up, right? Because it must be something more than that. It must be more than not losing my knight. That isn't puzzle worthy. So in our games, if I told you at any point in the game, if I was able to help you, right? You play Chess Wizard for the Championship of the World. Nice match, by the way. I know you didn't come out on the winning side, but next you can always compete again next month. But
I'm already in the first one.
all right. But if I had stopped you, if I could legally stop you in the middle of that game at any point and say, stop, Linear, this is a puzzle, solve it. Meaning that you have a winning move, and you have a winning move. You'd say, hey, I got 8 minutes on the clock. I'm going to use 3, 4, 5 minutes to find this winning move, because it should lead to an easier win, right? I know the moment. Someone's just told me this moment is a puzzle. You wouldn't stop until you found the answer to that puzzle. Now, we thought we found the right answer here, but that's beside the point. The point is that if you could know that this moment was a puzzle moment, you would slow down, stop, do everything you had to try to solve that puzzle at that moment, because you figure it's going to lead to a win. Mm-hmm. Well, in a real game, any game, there's no one telling you that. Right? That's not legal. No one is stopping the game and saying, hey, don't miss that puzzle-worthy moment right there. Make sure you find it. So either you need to instinctively or grow an instinct, get your spidey sense in place, where you can say, hey, my spidey sense is going off. there's a winning move. I got to stop. This is a puzzle right now. Or we need to play by those principles and other things while we're getting our recognition better, right? We still need to use our principles. All right, cool. Let's go on to chapter 2. All right, let's go to chapter 2. Actually, let me see. Let's start off with right here, chapter 3 for me. Endgame planning.
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3. So it
Perfect. And then do I have to hit the sync button? It's got
Yeah.
like 35.
Yes, click on the sync. It should be a check mark showing if we're synced.
Okay, there. We are synced now then.
And if we're synced, it should actually drag you to the chapter with me. Hey, that's a good
Okay.
dream, Ratchet. All right, so this was the last move made by White. Tell me what you... Analyze this position. It is not a puzzle. It's an endgame plan. I want you to tell me your endgame plan. So I'll make life easier on you. It's not a puzzle, okay? So don't look for a puzzle answer. But look for an answer.
Okay, so look for a plan.
Yeah, what would you do if you were black in this game?
Okay, let's see here. Gonna turn my brain into endgame mode now.
Yep.
So
You could draw arrows, remember. Show us what you're
Right.
thinking and tell me how you would go about... because I'll also tell you that right now the engine will say that black is ahead.
okay, so looking at this
so let's start
move
there.
by
Why is
White,
black ahead?
Black right now is currently ahead. I would give them the edge strictly because of their bishop.
Okay.
Not too many other factors to me would give black an edge in this position, other than the fact that we have the bishop, they have the knight, going into this type of an endgame, where we've still got pawns on both sides of the board. So likely we will see passed pawns on both sides of the board, which the bishop will always dominate in those positions, because the knight simply can't defend both sides of the board as efficiently as the bishop.
So see, we're back to
if I was
those...
giving an edge...
Remember I told you about you knowing concepts? There you go, right?
Yeah.
So any time in a game, I'd want you to analyze the position to find a plan. And you could do that. No, we're not saying you know it's a puzzle-worthy moment. We're saying, hey, I want to win this game. I need to see what I'm going to do. I need to make a plan for the end game. You should always, the first part of planning should be to analyze. And you're right, one of the factors is any imbalances you have. And we have a clear imbalance of a knight versus a bishop. And I'll agree with you again that with open lines, that bishop is more powerful than that knight. Right? In open lines. Now, you still have to be able to make it come to fruition. One of the things I did in my last stream for my students, I ran a tournament where you played, one side had a king, 2 bishops, and all of the pawns, against a king, 2 knights, and all of the pawns. And we did an arena tournament.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so that's to get used to, supposedly 2 bishops are better than knights, but can you prove it? All right, that's fine. When you're analyzing a position, one thing to look for is imbalances. Usually the first thing, what is the very first thing you usually do when you analyze a position? To see who's winning or losing, right? And why. Who's winning or losing and why?
The very first thing I would do if I was looking at the position, to just tell you which side might be better. The first thing I usually look at personally is king position and safety.
Okay.
That's my first go-to look is where is the king for both sides and who's not safe right now.
I'm okay with that, just understanding that the last move by White was getting out of check. But also understanding how quote unquote is it important for king safety, and that's so general I can't argue with you. You're correct. I can't argue with you. Mm-hmm. But how important is it for the king to be in a fortress? In the opening, yes. In the middle game, definitely. But in the end game, we actually want that king to be an attacking piece.
Yeah, we want to centralize our king or get them as active as possible.
Okay, good. So keep going. What else would you do to analyze a position?
Okay, so we've dealt with the kings. Next, I would look at piece placement and mobility. just seeing who's like, are any of the pieces currently tied down to defending something? Are any of the pieces currently creating a bigger threat than what I'm creating? Like that kind of stuff. Like just look at who's got the better pieces, who's placed well, and check on just like general piece.
So I heard imbalances, king safety, and coordination of my pieces.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the number one thing people use to determine who's winning, you haven't said yet. Which, by the way, any beginner at the very beginning of their chess career, right? Take any beginner, like I like to use Jerpuff as one of our students that are very much a beginner.
Mm-hmm.
She would do this. What is the first thing most people look at to see who's winning?
Material count?
Yeah. And you didn't even say, you never said it. So, who's winning in material?
Let's see. 6 pawns to 7 pawns. Black has an edge with 1 pawn.
Yeah. So when you said black is ahead because of this, I would also say you're missing the fact that he's up a whole pawn.
I was getting to material, but that is literally like the last thing I look at when assessing a position.
Okay.
To me, it's one of the least important factors at one point, I was weighing material too heavily, and it was negatively impacting my decision making. So I threw material out the window unless it's severe. Unless it's like a piece or 2 pawns, something like big. 1 pawn to me is never going to cause me to be like, oh yeah, for sure, that's a benefit here. Like if this pawn, for example, though, was magically taken from d5 and put onto d3, then I would say that pawn's probably doing a lot more in the position, as it's now a pass pawn, not just up 1 pawn who doesn't really have a life to move forward yet. We have to work him through the center of this board before he means anything to me as an assessment tool, kind of thing.
Interesting. Okay.
So I had to trick my brain into not being so materialistic, basically, to get to the point where I'm at. So it's at the bottom of my list, but it is there.
I'm glad it's there, because what I actually heard you say when you said you threw it out of your thinking is like, I've had 3 kids now, right? I've had 3 kids, and I have a grandchild now. And I had to tell my son the other day, I said, you take out that little tub and you wash the baby in the tub.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get rid of that dirty tub water, throw it out the window.
Yep.
I had to tell him, don't leave the baby in the tub when you throw it out. Have you ever heard that? Yeah, you can't throw out the baby.
I love that saying. Don't throw the baby out with the tub.
Right, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
So I would not want you, I would want, now that you're a more mature and better player, I would want you to go back to considering material equally in your thought process. I know it's the last on your list, but don't leave it out to the point that you don't even remember to say it. We still want to look at material, because one of the benefits of being ahead, even 1 pawn, don't think of it as, and this is where I like your thinking of dropping it, but not dropping it, is, yeah, it's only 1 pawn. And if you fixate on, I've got a pawn, I win this game, you're gonna probably not win. But
yeah.
if you realize, hey, I already have 1 advantage of a pawn, can I increase this? Can I get this pawn to be a pass pawn at the right time with the right support? I should be able to win this game. And in fact, this is why I like material. Let's say we traded off both rooks, the knight, and the bishop. And I can put my king anywhere I wanted to, like here, or here, or here. And all the pawns hadn't moved yet. I think this would be an easy win for black.
Oh, 100%. If we remove the pieces, that's 100% winning for black in my eyes.
So that's why I want you to remember the material, because if we're ahead even just 1 pawn, we could probably win this game easily. Okay, if we get rid of the other pieces. All right.
But also, removing all the pieces completely changes the type of endgame. So
yes,
that pawn becomes more powerful the more you take off.
Totally. And so because you're up a pawn, what is your goal? Do you know this one?
If I'm up that pawn, my goal is to simplify the position as much as possible to make that pawn worth more than it is in the current position.
Very good.
So I'm looking to trade rooks. I'm looking to trade minor pieces, maybe trade a few pawns off the board, make my life a little easier.
Almost.
We're looking to trade.
My general rule is, when you're ahead in material, and a pawn is material,
Mm-hmm.
you should trade off pieces, not pawns. When you're behind in material, what do you think you should do?
Trade off the pieces and not the pawns.
Say it again?
Oh no, wait, trade the pawns, not the pieces when you're behind. Because that opens more lines for your pieces to do their work that they can do, which they can't do behind pawns.
That's right. And if you trade off all the pawns, if you got rid of all the pawns so there's only one pawn left, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's only one pawn on this board left, black has it. And it's kings versus kings. You probably know how to force a draw, if possible, right? Using opposition?
Oh, yeah, if it's a single pawn against a king, you can place the kings in any position and the pawn in any position, and I can usually tell within about 10 to 20 seconds who's winning.
All right, see, there you go. So, if white is behind in material, he wants to trade off or win pawns, but trade off, even if he just traded off all the pawns and kept the pieces, it's going to be really hard for you to queen that pawn because it's only one pawn, and he should be able to stop you and get a draw. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. Hey, very good. All right, so what move do you want to come up with? By the way, chat has some moves. Busy has a move. Montague has a move. So see what move you like. I'm curious what move they like. Go ahead, guys. Put it in the chat. Tell me the move you guys like.
Well, the first move that I really like just right off the bat, is d4.
Okay.
Just d4. So my idea here is if knight takes on d4, then we can just exchange our bishop for the knight, which would isolate their pawn on b2 and make our time creating a pass pawn on the queen side of the board easier because it's 1 versus 2 in balance on that side. And we can also just capture the pawn on d4 after it exchanges. So basically, if pawn moves to d4, got to remember my arrows. So d4, pawn takes, or knight takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes. We now have our rooks on the only 2 open files, as well as isolating this pawn on g2, which would basically make it super easy to create a passer here because these rooks can't even pressure our pawn that's on a6 because it's currently defended by b7. So d4, we're exchanging some stuff down just so that we have an easy time promoting our extra pawn and making it worthwhile. Well, on the king side, they're not going to be able to get much done because there's no imbalance on the king side. So everything will be on the queen side, and we've already got the open files. We've got access to their back ranks. We got ideas of maybe bringing our rook to d2 or c2 to get this check-in and winning b2, or if we're lucky, maybe even potentially winning h2 over there at some point. And we've also got access to just get both of our rooks onto the second rank as well, which would probably destroy white before they even get a chance to counter with anything.
Okay.
Would be my whole idea with d4.
So you did tell me also that this bishop was way better than the knight, and that's why you were winning. And you had put material way behind, and this allows white to trade.
Yep, because we do want to trade with the extra material as well.
Okay.
If the position were a little bit different, like let's say, for example, we had the option, we do technically right now have the option to do something like bishop to b6, stopping this knight from coming forward, because we'll be controlling all of its forward squares and forcing it to, if it comes to, this would be a problem if it came to a5 right away, attacking our b7 pawn, which we could defend, but we could try and potentially stable the knight by putting our bishop the 2 squares away from the knight and just controlling those forward squares. But that seems really passive, and again, after knight a5, now we have to defend b7, which is going to need a rook to defend it because it's on a light square, and we don't want to pacify. Or we could take as well, but then that's bringing a rook into the position. I don't like allowing trades to bring a rook into a forward position. Even if I've got a way to tempo them back, it will end up creating weaknesses because, let's say, for example, in this position that you set up, if I take, rook takes, we play b6.
Whoa. Yes, why do you assume b6 when you could take a6?
No, I was just saying, if we were to play something like b6, if we had that as an option, I'm just trying to say, to tempo the rook back.
Okay, I'm thinking
as an idea.
I would think that you'd play what you had decided.
we could play here, but like what I'm trying to like give an example of like why I don't like to bring the rooks forward in exchanges like that is if we have the option to play b6 and like say force the tempo back.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it always creates a weakness, and like then we can say push here and exchange here exactly like we were planning. But I was just trying to give an example as to why I don't really like that kind of an exchange.
Okay, so
I would prefer to exchange over here and keep my pawn structure intact to stop the rooks from ever really coming forward or doing any damage, and then look to play on the other side in the center of the board while keeping my wing safe.
So the reason I like this, there's a basic reason why I like this position right now.
Mm-hmm.
Basic reason, better than I like this position right now for black. And the simple rule, and remember, I love principles, right? Hey, Jerpuff, was your ears burning, Jerpuff? We used your name. Hey, TK, can you give them both shout-outs for me, Ratchet, if you're still around? If not, I'll take care of it. So, rooks like to be connected.
Yeah.
Rooks like to be connected. So the first thing is the bishop restrains the knight, like you said, keeps my bishop, my stronger piece than his knight, and it allows my rooks to talk. Now, yes, if he goes here, you might say, well, you know, the pawn's hanging. I might not want to bring back my rook right at this moment. I might just say I'm going to trade, because then the rook doesn't have any in here. And the basic thing, the problem for white is, we just disconnected the rooks.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense now. So now, we've got our rooks connected on the soon-to-be opened-up file, and we'll be threatening to come in with our rooks who are still connected.
We like rooks on the 7th, right?
Yep.
And please look, this rook still has no ins on this rank. And they are still disconnected. And now I have both open files. And you have what you said you wanted, which was 2 pawns against 1 for the endgame.
Yeah.
I've also traded off 2 minor pieces, the only 2 minor pieces that were left. And now I'm looking good for going after this pawn and possibly trading off the other 2 rooks, and then it should be an easy win.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Alright, so that's where, what I loved what you said, your first consideration was the imbalance. And you said, hey, these guys are imbalanced, right? So how do I deal with it? So for me, it's let's keep the imbalance as long as I can, but also my rooks are not talking.
Yeah.
So here your rooks are not talking so that he has this opportunity. Because your rook, where's your rook go?
Can't escape anymore. Yeah. Our rook has nowhere to go.
Yeah.
If we play that move. That makes perfect sense now.
All right.
Perfect.
So let's go on to puzzle 2, which hopefully it just dragged you on.
Yeah, it just brought me along here.
All right. In this puzzle, I don't even know how the knight got there unless it got moved. But anyway, so our knight is here attacking that same bishop. We still have the rooks are not connected. We've successfully pushed that pawn all the way through.
Okay.
I'm just trying to remember. I
basically already have like a move sequence.
Yeah,
here.
I think this knight is in the wrong place though. Give me a second to think this through because I'm pretty sure that baby is in. No, it is in the wrong. I feel confident that's in the wrong square. All right, so let's use this board instead. Let's say we moved here. Let's say we did not take for whatever reason. I'm trying to remember. That didn't do anything logical though. I'm trying to remember because this is a position I want to get to. Let's just push this here for the moment. And we push here and the rook goes here. All right, and it is this correct? Yeah, this would be correct, but that should have been protected. See, yes, maybe no. No, it's not protected. It is not protected. Yeah, I'm thinking the knight was supposed to be here, not on this square. In that other puzzle.
Yeah.
That it should
Because
look
in that
like
other
this.
puzzle, pawn takes rook, rook takes the new queen, you win the knight, and it's all over.
Yeah. So yeah.
Right?
So here, black goes here, and rather than trade the rook for the rook, which he could have in this situation, white played here. Okay. Yeah. We'll say this is the position for argument's sake. We could I'll double check. I must have made a mistake in transposing. Okay. So
a quick answer to that question. Almost 1900 Durpuff. I just saw a rating question come up, so
okay.
I figured I'd answer.
Okay. So what are you going to do here?
Okay. So let's see. So one idea is we can still trade a rook in this position. We have rook d8.
Okay.
So after knight takes, we promote rook takes and rook takes.
Good.
And that plants our rook on their back rank, which is one of the two best places you can get your rooks, is behind their pawns or on the rank where their pawns are usually hiding. So first or second, seventh or eighth. So we can end up with a rook on d1, which can quickly start targeting things. So that's one idea, is we can go ahead and just trade off the rooks like what they seem to want.
Okay.
Which I like that idea. Personally, I like to trade when I can in these kinds of positions. I'm just seeing if I can think of anything this position would like better than that. And I think a trade is probably... The downside to the trade is we lose our extra pawn. So we'd be
that
trading
material
our
gain.
pass pawn.
Yeah, the material gain we had gets lost, right?
Yeah, and then we're just in a pretty even endgame that theoretically, like, if white can hold with their knight against our bishop, which won't be super duper difficult considering the position's not fully open. Like, our bishop has a lot of things to go after, but not an easy way to get to them. So
yeah, I think I even remember how it got here, but it wouldn't make sense because at one point I think it was back here.
Mm-hmm.
This did not come yet. I think what happened was this. I think it's white's move. I think white went here. He went here. He went here. He didn't push yet. Black did something. I don't think it was that. But black did something, and we'll just say here for the went here. And then black said, I'll push at you. So we still get here, basically. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Okay, so like that idea
like
is okay to trade, but do we really want to give up our advantage? Can we retain the advantage if we can? Which I'm not seeing a real way to accomplish that. One idea, maybe. No, that's never going to work. Never mind. I was thinking that, like, do we have some kind of tricks over here, like trying to divert this rook in some way and maybe just, like, sneaking a queen in? It was never going to work.
I like it. Look deeper.
Like, if we go here, if rook
now the
takes, then obviously we get
bishop's
queen.
a terrible diversion. You could take with the knight and hit the bishop. You could take with the pawn.
Yeah.
But what's another diversion you could use?
Rook?
Yeah, what happens if you play rook here?
That's actually a really pretty move. Now that I'm like looking at it, because now if they go over here, we win the knight, they take our pawn. If they take, we're going to promote to a queen. That looks to be a much better move. Is if we're moving here, being like, hey, let's do this. So you can't take the pawn because we're going to take your rook. You can't take the rook because we're going to queen. So realistically, the only move you have is to get ready to take that pawn, and we're going to win your knight. Unless there's something more productive to do with the knight, maybe, but I don't see it.
I don't either. And I think you're going to end up like this. And, either attacking this pawn, and you're still going to win back a pawn. Let's say we double up, though, because, we like to double up, too. But, yeah, so now you still have 2 pass pawns for your trouble.
Yeah, you get the 2 pass pawns, and also without taking that pawn as well, you can just bring your rook up. And if we go back, instead of going after the pawn, you can try and trade a rook off too.
Mm-hmm.
Because the kings here, it's going to be a forced trade. They're not going to be able to move their rook out of the way. So if they take the pawn, we take, they take. Now we can come after this pawn. Like, we can go after the pawn after we trade off a rook just to try and take away as much counterplay as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Would be another idea I would look at, and probably consider more, because like fighting 2 rooks against 2 rooks can be a pain even if you've got 2 passers. There's just not enough advantage, I find, in those positions with the 2 rooks against 1 rook. For sure, we could probably more easily win with the 2 pawns.
Yeah, I would definitely want the connected double passers guaranteed. And I'll show you an example why I don't like your well, actually, it does work, because your king comes here to attack. It does, you still get it. I was thinking.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get it.
I was thinking, the attack, but he doesn't get here in time. But he does slow you down if he wants to.
Oh yeah, he can slow you down, but right. Then I'm just gonna bring my king.
Yep. All
and
right.
this king's not gonna get there too fast.
So
by the time, wait, does it work? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No wait, the king can't even cross because of our rook. So yeah.
Yeah, the king would have to stop here.
Yeah, so that's 3 moves to get to our rook. For us, it would be 4 moves to get there. So maybe it gets a little dicey. We have to move our rook a little bit, but
you did get to move first, right? So you do get to protect now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Okay. But regardless, so if we go back to puzzle 2, but put the knight here, right? Just please imagine the knight here.
Yeah, if the knight's there.
Yeah, and then would you be surprised that someone actually did this with the knight here? So that he would just take and the knight would still be attacking the rook? And just give away that...
I would believe it. Yeah. I've seen that mistake made in a game. I've made that mistake in a game before, thinking that for some reason I had like some sneaky tactic that failed.
Yeah.
I don't think queening there would ever be the right move.
Oh, good, because you actually did that in a game. But moving on, that was your game.
Oh no, I know. I know I've done this kind of stuff in game before.
All right, how about here? We're running out of time fast, and as you noticed, I made a nice big thing here for you. So I'd love to continue your lesson, because we're not going to get through all of the study today. So real quick, assess this position and give me a move for white.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, wait. This is the move by black. I'm on chapter 4 and hopefully dragged you along.
Yeah, I've made sure that I've got the check mark on sync now, so I'll follow you wherever you go.
All right. I like that.
Let's see.
Assess the position and tell me what you're thinking.
Quick assessment. So I will be good and do material first. They have 6 pawns to our 3, so 3 extra pawns, 2 of which are pass pawns. We've got... This is actually a little gross. We've got the piece for 3 pawns in this position.
Okay, very good.
Which, if I'm being honest, depending on the position, I hate having the piece and would prefer the pawns.
Okay.
Okay, so piece for 3 pawns. As far as piece activity goes, I like white's placement of pieces as is, because the bishops are kind of connected with each other. The knight is really sad sitting on h4 and needs to be dealt with at some point, I think. But black's placement is, like, they've got a good rook. They are controlling a file. Their knight could be better if it were protected, I would say, but otherwise it's a pretty powerful knight. The dark squared bishop by black isn't super great, but can come to life pretty easily, I'd say. So as far as an assessment goes for white, I'd give black the edge here, because to me they've got the initiative right now. They're currently coming after white with their pawns. So white seems to be needing to defend a little bit and get their pieces a little more active, whereas black seems to be a little bit better, I would say. I'd say black's better here, but not by much. If white's able to consolidate the position in their favor, I'd say white would be better. So to make that happen, so thinking about this and a move for white. So right now, bishop's under attack. If we take, knight takes, and we just are not really any better off than we were, unless there's something there. Takes, knight takes. I don't really like that move.
Good.
Maybe.
So what's your other choices? One was to take. You can't interpose. It's a pawn.
Yeah, we can't interpose, and I don't think we can take. So we can run.
Can't
which,
defend it,
when it
really,
comes to
right?
a bishop. Yeah, I never think of defense if it's something smaller attacking something bigger.
Very good.
I
You
just train
normally
my
should
brain to
not.
just be like, don't ever defend.
You normally should
Don't
not.
ever defend.
All right.
So running or counterattacking would be the realistic other options.
Okay.
But counterattacking here, like, we're not coordinated enough to really think about a counterattack.
You sure?
I think.
So
the only real thing I can kind of see has some potential is we are lined up against the king.
Oh, I love alignment.
On f7, but I'm not seeing a clear way to do anything with that, because unless we've got something like rook looking at this bishop, so we can double their pawns, create a target, and trade this piece off with our rook coming in behind it. So rook a7 looks kind of like counterattacky if we were looking to not run with our bishop, because we can run with it,
right,
but not to too many squares.
Right.
Knight takes it here. If we come here, obviously rook takes. So like we've really only got a couple squares. We can trade it or we can bring it back, but that's just going to bring a pawn push. So realistically, we can bring it back to beside our king.
Okay.
And that keeps it relatively safe.
Okay.
But considering the advantage these two pawns can give black in the future, especially if we start trading pieces off the board, maybe just coming up and counterattacking their dark squared bishop, being like, yeah, you can take my bishop. I'm going to take your bishop. My bishop's now already got a target to come after. Like right off the bat, we're going to win this pawn. If you don't, in fact, I don't think you can even defend that. Maybe the knight here can defend it. But like, I would say best course of action for white to start would be to come after the bishop, bringing our rook to the 7th rank, which is where it wants to be. Okay. We don't have to worry about their rook coming back. We've got escape squares, and we're going to create weaknesses in their camp as well.
So I like all of your thinking so far. Keep going, though, because the reason you found the bishop was because you said of this alignment. There's another reason why you can find the bishop. It's called unprotected pieces.
Yeah.
So black has 1, 2. That one's protected by the bishop. What else is not protected?
We have the knight hanging right now as well.
All right, so there's 3 unprotected pieces. You're attacking one of them right off the bat. You already are. So if you just moved your bishop away...
Oh, I see it now. I see something really beautiful now.
Go ahead.
At least I think I do. Rook c1.
Yeah, you can
coming
attack...
up on every undefended piece underneath it. So the knight would theoretically need to move. We're going to take a pawn. We're going to take that. Like... If they take the bishop, we're going to win their knight, and then that rook's going to eat everything else along that line. Maybe not the pawn on b5. Maybe not the pawn because the bishop can come here and like try and hold down the fort, but that's going to be a bad square for it because now our rook just comes here and it's like, oh, hi, now we've got a pin.
Yep. So, and if he protects the knight, then your bishop is no longer under attack, so you win the first of the wayward pawns.
And then we've also got this beautiful connection of our bishops pointed directly at the king as well.
All
so
right.
Yeah, I'd say rook c1 is like the killer move here. Like, go ahead and take it. I'm going to take everything else while you're busy.
And so how would you have found that? First thing is, you have to say, what do I have to do? I can run away. I can take. Taking's no good. I can run away. This is my only good square. Or I can interpose. Nope. Defend. Nope. So then the last one is attacking something of equal or greater value, which we said normally is the riskiest, but if it works, it works. And in this case, it works, right? Because you have the extra pieces, and there are 3 undefended pieces, another form of alignment, because they're all in that straight line, like you said, which rooks really like straight lines.
Yeah.
All right, great. That's how I would want you to find that move. This is not a puzzle like, oh, find the winning move. This is like, I'm under attack. I got to go through my progression. Do I want to take? No. Do I want to run away? And I have to quickly be able to say, none of these squares are great to run away to. These 2 are bad, right? These are all bad because I just lose the piece. And he wants to trade off pieces so his pawns aren't challenged by so many pieces.
Yeah.
All right, so you know I don't want to go anywhere where I can lose my bishop easily, so I can quickly pick this as my only runaway square. You can't interpose, you can't defend, so now you're down to, can I attack something? Let me identify all the undefended pieces. The rook is defended by the bishop, the pawn is defended by the knight, and this pawn is defended by the bishop. These 2 pawns are defended by the king, and this pawn is defended. So the only undefended pieces for black are these guys. And you can move your undefended piece to a defended square, attacking one, and you're looking fine. All right.
That looks so good.
And Tony liked rook to a4? Not a4. Not a4. Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking. It can't be a4. Or did you mean down here to a7 maybe? Or rook to a3. Yeah, could do rook to a3, but I like it right here. There's no threat of the fork because the bishop eats it. Anyway, okay. So what I'm trying to get you used to is analyzing the position, identifying undefended pieces, and then making good moves, right? You're always looking for good moves. So here's another one. We're on chapter 5. And this one should be an easy one. Okay, ready?
Okay.
White.
I am synced in with you.
White has checked the king. Take a look at the board real quick. Do a quick assessment. Who's winning?
In this position, white's winning.
Good. Material, pretty obvious, right? You have 2 passed connected pawns more than black, correct?
Yep.
And king safety, the king is actually pretty hard to get to.
Yeah, he's super safe.
Well,
Their king's out in the open all naked like.
So pretty easy, right? Give me a move. Go, quick. What move comes to mind? What's the first move that comes to mind?
First move that comes to mind for me is Queen C8 check.
All right. And that's actually what you did in the game.
Yeah, that's the first move that came to my mind. And then I played it.
Now.
It was bad.
Well, you got lucky because then he moved here.
I feel like this was a time pressure situation.
It might have well been. It might have well been. And then you moved here.
Yeah, just keeping the queen, literally.
Now, the reason, and you're right, it could be a time pressure. I didn't check the time at the time of the game. But I will tell you that your first thought, right, was to chase the king. And here is where I want to change. I'm going to give you a principle that I want you to work with.
Okay.
You said before that the rook's best places are on the 8th or the 7th file. And you said, right? Remember last game?
Yeah.
Okay, and you said it was because it could be behind the pawns or attacking the pawns.
Yes.
I'm going to offer you a different principle. Up to you to choose to accept it or not. The rooks are not best on the 8th rank at all. The rooks are exclusively best on the 7th rank.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go further. It has nothing to do with the pawns, although many times they get to eat a lot of pawns. It's because it's trapped the king on the 8th rank.
Yeah.
So if my king is out here in the center of the board in an endgame, that rook being on the 7th rank means nothing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But if that rook can be on the 7th rank and the king is on the 8th rank, that is when you hear people talk about rooks on the 7th are dangerous.
Yeah.
And when we call them pigs on the 7th, we want both rooks on the 7th. Because not only can they eat all the pawns, but they're going to threaten mates. And even only one rook on the 7th, if the king is on the 8th, in the endgame, that king is no longer in the game.
Yeah, it completely takes them out.
While the rook can hit almost every file from back here. So I don't want you to, if you agree, I want you to stop thinking about the 8th rank at all. I want you to stop thinking it's because of pawns. It's to trap the king. And I don't know how many times my beginners have done things like right now, the first move that should come to mind has nothing to do with a check. And the reason you don't want a check to come to mind, even if you picked one that wouldn't give away the queen, would be because you're pushing the king back off the 8th.
And you want to keep him there.
Totally. That is our goal, is to keep him out of play on the 8th. Think about it. I got 2 passed pawns. If I did nothing else but leave my queen here right now, just leave him here, keeping that king trapped, I did nothing else, I could start marching these pawns down to the queen. And if one queens, it's checkmate.
You know, I just realized something in this position. I completely forgot about the rook. On G1, in both cases, I saw the rook both times. You told me, look at the board. I saw the rook on the open file connecting to that queen. I saw it, but my brain completely ignored it. And I don't know why. Even when we were talking, I was like, what rook are we bringing to the 7th here? Like, I get what you're saying. The 8th isn't the best spot. We want to keep the king trap. I'm like, where's my rook in this position? I think I was blind to it. Like, every single time I continued to look at this position.
You were blind to the rook, and you were blind to this queen hitting that square.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that queen.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But I don't want you...
That's not my greatest moment.
But this should not... Even this one should not even have been a consideration. Because it allows
I know the pawn
king...
does look a little juicy.
But it allows the king off the back rank.
Yeah.
It is more... This pawn is not worth as much as this king being stuck on this back rank.
That's true.
So, new way of thinking, new principle for you. Anytime going into the endgame, from a middle game all the way through the endgame, anytime I can restrict the king because the king becomes a powerful piece, I'm going to do it. And if I can restrict the king to the 8th rank, even better. So automatically, your thought should have been like, hey, I did my job. Look, he went here. He didn't come up. He didn't come up. You know, he should have come here.
Yeah.
But instead, he went back to the 8th. I'm ecstatic. I'm not doing anything to help that king get off the back rank. I'm looking around. If you had forgotten the rook altogether, then I would expect you to like start pushing this pawn. I would have been okay with that. Right? If you said, I made this move, and I go, okay, what? You don't want to move the rook down here and threaten checkmates? And you go, I forgot the rook even existed. I'd be like, cool, no problem, understood.
Yep.
Understand.
But the queen check.
Understand, right? But yeah, you'd want to make sure that you don't miss the fact that you have, right, that you have other pieces, but the point is we don't want to let the rook off the 8th, the king off the 8th. So if that's our new way of thinking, we're going to keep this king locked in. That's our goal. By the way, in the game you did do that, yeah, and it was ugly. Okay.
Yeah. I play some real ugly games. When I play good, you wouldn't tell the difference between me and a strong player. But when I play bad, it's like I've never played a game of chess in my life.
All right. How about here? Assess this position real quick. But we've changed one of your principles, hopefully. Rooks on the 7th, pigs on the 7th are awesome. That's what we're going for because it locks the king in.
Yes. So this position, the pawns,
Good job, Busy.
material could really not be more even in this position. We've got the same bishop, we've got the same knight, so material even. My king's safe, their king is not. Well, at this point, it's not considered safe because it's not castled, and I am. I'd say their knights are better. Their bishop's better.
Their bishop that hasn't moved yet.
Yeah, their bishop's better than my bishop currently because my bishop's blocked in.
Okay.
Their bishop has more control right now. Okay. I would say, like, if I'm assessing the pieces objectively like that, and their knights are arguably better because, well, my knight doesn't have many squares yet, but this is the kind of position that I kind of push out of when I'm playing it, so generally I'm comfortable with this. So I would say in this position right now, black would be slightly better. Even though their king's uncastled, like their pieces can just probably do a little bit more than mine can at the moment. Okay. And if I was looking for an idea for white to continue from here, biggest thing is to try and get the king, because the king is in the center. When the king's in the center, you want to break open to get to him before, he can get castled and away.
Okay.
And if I was going to try and accomplish that goal here, how can we go about actually doing that here? We don't have a check because of the knight to try and maybe force him to move so he stays there. Wow, why is my brain not doing anything now? I actually can't really see a proper way to continue against the king. Knowing that, maybe we should try and take some action against him, but I can't actually see a way to get to him. Maybe, an F3 to try and break open the center here so that we can bring our rook in. We can maybe prep that, rook E1, and then play F3 to, try and just open up the file against the king. But he can just cast the queen side and get out at any point, which wouldn't be good because this would happen and we're lined up on his king again. Realistically, to me, maybe an F3 to just crack the center open and then try to get as much pressure down the E file as we can before the king can run. And if the king tries to run, we do have our rooks coming to the C file. Really, everything can make it to the C file at that point, if that were to happen. Okay. So that would be my idea in this position, is just try and crack open the center the best I can and get to this king before he has a chance to get himself safer than he is now.
Okay. I'd live with that. I'd live with you trying to crack open the center. Realizing that you're creating a backward pawn here.
Oh, that pawn's going to die on the next turn anyways.
He doesn't need
If I'm trying to get to him, I'm throwing all of my pawns in the center out.
Okay, because he's not... He's,
F3,
so this is... black. It was black's move, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah.
So black moved here. Do you still want to do what you planned?
Not so much now. They can castle on the next turn and just be safe.
Okay. So, fast forwarding for you, this is the move you made in the game.
Yeah.
And it looks good, right? Because you get your bishop here, you get your knight here.
I was trying to challenge that diagonal there, and
so there's only one bad thing about this move, and it's something that's at risk even at this moment.
Something at risk even in this moment. Is it a potential sacrifice on H2?
It's a potential sacrifice. I'd buy that, but yeah, I'm not too worried about that one because the queen doesn't have an easy in, right?
No easy in there.
Yeah.
So what would we be worried about?
Not worried about so much as just a weak square.
Okay. like them hopping here to here.
Yep. And so this is the kind of thing that actually happened in your game. And this is kind of like where you end up with this knight being annoying.
Yeah.
And you could trade it, but then what? Anyway, so I want you to, identify this, but guess what? The only piece that isn't developed yet, you want to get it off your back rank. So I'd be looking for ways to get this queen off my back rank. You got to choose. Here, of course, just gives them tempos.
Yeah.
Here I like, but I believe the computer likes this one best, by the way. I would have no problem with like prophylactically saying I'm going to keep anything out of this square first, and then I'll develop my queen to here, and I get this diagonal, and then I could still do things like this with the knight. I can understand you wanting to get this bishop into the game though, so I totally understand your logic.
Yeah.
I'm also okay with just the knight here immediately to hit at the bishop and see if I could trade him. He still gets to do this, but you know. All right, I'm okay with that. Let's.
Actually, in that position, I would have preferred to replay it as a3 instead and keep the knight and bishop out prophylactically.
Okay.
That's how I'm trying to think and play these days. Is like thinking, like I've started a new kind of thinking system for finding moves, Kramnik's system, where you start off like, can I win in this moment? No. Can my opponent win in this moment? No. What's my opponent's next move? And trying to prevent their next idea. So that's what I'm slowly working towards. It's been a trying process. So if I had to replay that position, I'm probably playing a3 without even a second thought. Just keep the knight and the bishop from getting forward and making their life miserable.
Okay. Thank you for the follow, Jacob. Really appreciate it. All right. How about here? White just moved the knight. So I'm going to help you because we're running out of time. But I'm going to help you.
Okay.
I don't even know if we're going to get you to play a game. So here, the knight moved twice in the opening. That's a negative.
Yeah.
He had 3 pieces developed. You had 2. So you're behind on development. And instead of taking advantage of the fact that you're behind on development because he's white, he gets to go first. He's way ahead if he develops another piece and then castles. He moves a piece twice in the opening.
Yeah.
Okay, what moves directly come to mind? First of all, I look at the board and it's equal. I do have a semi-open file. He has a semi-open file, which means that I have 2 center pawns. He only has 1. I like that. I can do a lot of things. But remembering even back to this position, what we really needed to do is finish development. That's why he moved the bishop to finish development. And like you said, the king is still in the center. So I want to do whatever I can towards development. So I want to develop either this knight or this knight is my goal in the opening. Catch up. He moved a piece twice. I can get a 3rd piece developed. I can catch up on development. Right? I was behind. Right now, I'm behind. I don't know why, what pawns happened, but I'm behind. If he did something like this or this, then he stays ahead. But because he moved the knight twice, I want to get ahead on development. So what transpired in the game was you said check. And this would be what Tony called our sword of the word, or why not chess would say, this is a do nothing check. It's just a check for saying check. It doesn't win anything. It doesn't help your position. He ends up pushing, chasing the bishop back anyway. And I don't remember where you went in the game. But the point is, all you did was kind of like block this up. Now you might say, now I can hit at him, but he's going to trade. And even if you went all the way back here, you could try to hit at him. But you get into more troubles, right? He goes here. Your white bishop can't block. And in fact, things like that actually happen in this game now that I'm remembering. I think you did go to maybe something like this. He did something like this. You did something like this. I believe he did
I actually played knight c6 here. Knight c6 blocking the discovery. I remember this game. This game was recently. Like, I'd say within, I don't even know, the last couple of days, but I remember this position. I believe I played knight c6 to block the discovery and then played.
Well, this happened first. And then you play knight to c6, I believe. But anyway, you left this bishop.
Maybe,
hanging.
Yeah,
but the point behind all this is a check for saying check. Now, let's say you don't like the knight, you don't want to trade the bishop. You could have said check this way, but then he's protected, right? You're not threatening to take him, so that doesn't help you. So just developing would be great. Develop the knight. If he trades, that's okay. Yeah, that was your good bishop. Your bad bishop is on the outside of your pawn chain now. And you have 3 pieces developed. He has 2. He still needs to develop the bishop. He still needs the castle and get the queen off the back rank.
Because it takes that tempo to capture, and then I'm gaining more time because I'm just going. Develop. Gotcha.
It's still the number 1, 2, and 3 goals. All right, one more, and then actually we have one last end game after that, and then you could play a game, even though I won't be able to probably. Well, I would like to finish this off with you. I got to find out when, because I think next week I already have an appointment. But real quick here, it's white's to move. Strengths and weaknesses, real quick. What's the assessment?
So as of right now, black has the extra pawn. Not as meaningful because we're nowhere close to an endgame, so pawns aren't as meaningful at this point, but they do have an extra pawn.
Interesting you said you're not close to the endgame. If you traded off queens, would you still say you're not close to an endgame?
If we trade off queens, then we're much closer to an endgame.
Okay.
That's been something I've still been trying to figure out in my head, like when do I make that switch in mentality? I've been trying to say once the queens are off the board, just pretend like you're in an endgame, but that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But in this position specifically, that extra pawn is less meaningful. But if I played queen takes, rook takes, then that pawn would slowly become more meaningful.
Okay, so black should want to trade queens. So black should want to trade queens to make his advantage more meaningful.
Exactly. So we would want to see something from, like, black may want to do just right now to trade queens, but if it were black's move, black wouldn't want to trade in this position because then I gain the file with my rooks.
Do you?
So it's
wait. Let's make believe. Let's waste a move. Do you actually gain the file?
At this point, I would say I do gain the file. I do have control with 2 pieces covering the rook here. So if
I see how you're thinking. So you have potential to control the file. I would say you don't actually own the file yet because he's also on the file. To me, controlling the file is I have a rook there and you don't. Right? Like if I own the file, I can go anywhere I want safely. Well, I can't because you have a rook here to trade. So if I move that rook up, it would be a trade, right?
Okay.
So I don't consider this.
One thing. Sorry?
I don't consider this white owning the file. I say I say no one owns the file because you both have a rook on it. Right now, white has the file. Black says, nope, I'm going to fight for the file. It is no longer white's file.
Okay. Yeah, I can see why that would be a little confused when I'm thinking about it in a game.
Yeah.
Because to me, like, a lot of the time my thinking goes, I consider the last person to move into a file is the one contesting the file, and the controller of the file is the one who had it prior to contesting it.
That's okay.
And because they have to trade me, like, basically when it's in that situation, I think about it like I'm already there and I've got control of my rook on that square. I can move my other rook somewhere else, even off that back rank, and still have my bishop covering that square. So that's why I would say, like, I control it tentatively at that point.
Okay, and I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean, but most times when we think about controlling a file, it means that I can put my pieces safely on that file because you can't take whatever I put there.
Yeah.
And if we both have a rook on that file, it's open, right? Either one of us could throw something out there. I could put this bishop here or this knight here, and you couldn't take it because my rook has equal control of the file.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that way of thinking better. I got to correct that one.
Okay.
That would probably save me some headaches.
Yep. I think that, and your rooks on the 7th is golden, while rooks on the 8th it might be okay, but that means the king isn't on the 8th. So I want rooks on the 7th with the king on the 8th. That's the situation I'm looking for. All right, so what would you think? So right now we see 2 bishops against the bishop and the knight. This knight is not greatly placed. Knights want to be on these files, right?
Yep.
Because they're more active. So this knight is not a well-placed knight. Your bishop is looking fine. This bishop has a nice long diagonal. Maybe it could be better here or here. So maybe in my dream state, I'd want my two bishops here, my rooks here, my queen off the back rank, right? I'd want that. You see that dream state? And that seems like a plausible dream state to get to. How would you get there first? What would you do first?
Let's see.
That's your dream state.
So if that's my dream state, first move to me would be Queen E2.
Awesome sauce. Beautiful move. That's the move Busy liked. Totally agree. Queen to C2, Jacob liked. I'm okay with Queen to C2 also, but I really like this one. Making room for the rook to come over, which Queen here would also. I can then get my bishop here. The bishop can come back here, and these two bishops just have fun on these diagonals. My queen is ready to transfer. My queen is also lined up with his one extra pawn. So a lot of good things, right?
Yeah.
A lot of good things. And yes, queen to E5 is even a threat, Busy points out. So, and then after here, then he's got here, and he's just, the game is easy to play, right?
Yeah.
Okay, for some reason, and I don't know what it is, but this would be where I'm trying to help you improve your play, is to improve your concepts and principles and thinking. You actually took queen takes queen. And I don't believe you are in any time trouble at this moment.
Yeah, I've played, this is another position I remember. I would play, if I was using my thinking, I would say I'm taking the queen here so that after rook takes, I would bring my A rook to the D file immediately and then play on from here.
But what did we just do?
This doesn't do really anything but benefit black because of their extra pawn, though.
And now we got
so this is one of those
game.
flawed thinking states that I can get into at times where I'm
Very
like,
good.
okay, I'll trade here, and I misuse the principle I had in my mind, thinking that, again, that flawed rook thinking, I own this file because I have more control of my square than they do.
Yep. Because then I look at things like this,
that's that flawed thinking that I've got to correct. Kind of like the 8th rank rook. I was like, they're good on the 8th too. They can swing behind pawns and eat past pawns. Nothing can ever contest them that way. But no, flawed thinking.
Yep. So
joys of teaching yourself chess.
Where the rook is good on the 8th, which isn't really again having to be the 8th. I think where you got that thought from, where it does work, right? I'm not telling you that your thinking is wrong. It's just a little off the main road, like you're taking these side roads. Is that rooks belong behind passed pawns.
Yeah.
But that's either side. If you have a passed pawn, you want your rook behind your passed pawn, not in front of it. And if they have a passed pawn, you want your rook behind their passed pawn, not in front
of it. Who's ever got the pawn. Put a rook behind it and you're good.
And so it doesn't have to be the 8th. Right, it doesn't have to be the 8th rank. It just has to be behind the pawn.
Yeah, it can be 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Yeah.
Good. But
that's where
pigs
the
on the 7th,
got it.
Pigs on the 7th are all about controlling that 7th rank because the king is trapped on the 8th.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Right here. It's black to move. Here's white's move.
Okay. Okay, so quickly, we have the pawn. We have an extra pawn in this position as black. 2 connected pass pawns. They've got a single pass pawn. Our rook is not doing too much here.
It is keeping that king on the 8th.
It's keeping the king on the 8th, though, but I would prefer it somewhere else as well, just to...
Fair enough.
Because right now it's defending a pawn that's already defended and not attacked, so I would want to maybe place it better on that rank.
Go for it. Yeah, tell me more.
Let's see here. Right now, we do have some coordination from white against us. They are controlling the king or the square in front of our king, so they do have rook check in this position, but it wouldn't really do too much unless I decide to put myself on the back rank.
Okay.
And then we'd kind of be in the same situation. But they are basically in this position threatening to take our pawn on c7 because rook checks, king moves, they take c7, and now they've got 2 passed pawns plus their pieces in the house, and black's in a world of hurt.
All right,
basically, there's going to be no real way to stop both of those pawns.
So give me a plan.
let's see here. So a simple plan to me would be to just play our bishop probably to b6, defend the pawn because the check won't do too much. If they check us, then we can just play our king to h6, defend the pawn, and get out of the way anyways. We're on dark squares at that point, so we don't have to worry about their bishop. And then we've got to figure out how to get behind the passed pawn.
All right.
So
let me. So let's say that was a play that you might make in this game.
Yeah.
Now I want you to use what I told you before, which you did not do yet. Identify all the unprotected pieces of white.
Right. That's the thing that I keep forgetting to do.
Well, we just started. I mean, come on. Don't kick yourself. We just told you that today. So.
Yeah. I do kick myself a little bit because to me that's like day one. What are hanging pieces?
Circle them.
Like I feel like I should have that grasp by now. So that's more out of frustration that my brain doesn't automatically do it at this point. So at this point, we have rook undefended, pawn undefended, bishop undefended. This pawn is the only thing that's defended on.
Outstanding. C6. So how many pieces are undefended?
3 currently.
Yeah. So now, remembering that you have 3 undefended pieces, maybe you might rethink your thinking. Remember also that you found really nice alignment with those undefended pieces, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any good alignment with the undefended pieces here?
Let's see. So right now we've got these pieces along the dark squares, so the rook and the pawn are lined up. We've also got the pawn and the bishop lined up this way. So one thing we can do is maybe play our rook.
Outstanding.
To capitalize on this, because now if they come in with the check, we back up, we take this passed pawn that was giving us trouble with check, and then we'll win their bishop next, and now we're up.
Easy
piece
breezy.
And a pawn.
Easy breezy win, right?
Yeah.
All right. So from here, white actually can't do that, but you would be happy if he did, because if he does that, he can't even go here.
Nope, because we control that square as well.
Right. And if he says, well, I'll queen my pawn, you say, no, I'll take your bishop first. I'll queen my pawn. No, you really won't.
You're not queening nothing.
Right. You never will. All right. So white's actually best move is this.
Get behind the pawn. Get behind the passer.
Which makes him defensive and allows you time to actually get in here, blockade this, and he still can't push. Well, he can't even push here actually, because if he pushes, he still drops the bishop.
Yep.
So yeah, he's tied up, no place to go, because he still has undefended pieces. Well, one undefended piece. All right, so yes, that's how I want you to find moves. I want you to assess the position. I'm okay with material is the last thing, but don't throw it out altogether. But look for undefended pieces. Understand that you had 2 passed pawns, so he's actually worried about you. He's trying to get counterplay and win a pawn and get a queen pawn, and you could stop all of that from happening. Hey, thank you for the follow.
With one very simple move.
Yes. Yes. All right, so we want to find those moves. Not only do we want to find them, but we need to find them quickly. And that's a whole nother lesson. Speeding up your process. And that's why if you notice every once in a while I said, okay, fast. Because
yeah.
I want you to start training your brain to look for certain things quickly. So if we go all the way back to the first one, things quickly is that, and this knight is in the wrong, well, we have to go back to the beginning. Okay. So
yeah, that knight's chilling on the other square.
Right. So here quickly would be, I want to be able to get him here. Can I keep the rook from getting, yeah, I could take this piece. If he doesn't, I got a piece. What am I, I'm just going to take this piece. If he takes me, I'm good to queen. If he goes someplace else, I just got a free piece. Right? Yeah. Easy. I want you to think of these a little faster. Same thing on this one. Go back to the beginning. Would be, hey, I'm going to keep my bishop because it's an advantage. I have an advantage. I have I have an extra pawn. I want to trade off the pieces. So I'm going to start by connecting my rooks. That should be my first thought. Might not be your last thought. You might not choose to do this, but I want your first thought to be, how can I get my rooks connected? You know, so here or here, here, I don't care. How can I get them connected the right way, the smart way? How can I get them connected? Here I'm up a whole piece. Yes, he has 2 pawns that look kind of scary, but he has 3 undefended pieces. So I can theoretically attack that undefended piece. If he takes, I take, I'm happy. If he doesn't take and he protects the piece, I'm happy. If he tries to run away, I could just take the pawn because that's the one that's protecting. I'm attacking the defender. So I'm removing the defender of this, plus I'm happy, right? Happy. So in here, we know, this one we know, keep the king on the 8th. Keep the king on the 8th. Here it's just develop. I know you're looking for a good move, but when you don't find anything that stunningly immediately is going to help you, develop your pieces. Development's always a pretty safe route to take. Same thing here. Your opponent neglects development, so you want to say, can I punish him? Nah, dag, I can't punish him right away for neglecting development, so I will catch up. He's letting me catch up, I'll catch up.
And also attack that pawn.
And attack a pawn.
A little bit of pressure.
And here we know we do not want to trade because he's up the material. We are not trading off pieces when he's up material. And I'm going to keep my pieces on the board because he wants to trade pieces. I want to win pawns. So simple thing is to get your queen off, hopefully double up. And in this one, you actually have a lot of opportunities. But even without the opportunities of the 2 bishops attacks, I would still say my goal is not to trade pieces, so I'm not trading my queen.
Yep, and we're connecting our rooks too.
Yep, and here we have
rook connection
pieces. And connecting our rooks, so always a good idea. All right, whew. That's a lot. That's a lot. All right.
That's a lot of good stuff. I already feel like this has corrected a few crossed wires in my brain. So thank you very much, Tiberian. You are amazing. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I usually want to, and I would still like you to play a game against somebody, but then I would usually analyze the game with you. So
okay.
I'll give you 2 options. One, you could play somebody now, and I'll probably leave, but so you can wait. Your next stream, play at fastest a rapid game, and watch for opportunities in the middle and end game to apply these principles that we were adjusting, right? I like to call it, we're calibrating your thinking. So see if you can calibrate your thinking on any of these during a game that you play. When you think you have, let me know, and I will go look at that game, and you could even throw it into this study right here. You could add it as, because you have access now, you have full contributor rights. So you just take your game afterwards, you click the hamburger at the bottom, and you say study, and you throw it into this study, and you'll find it by studies I contribute to. Okay, this is going to be under studies I contribute to, which probably aren't going to be that many for you, I'm going to assume. And you could throw it in here as a chapter and let me know, hey, I think I got a good example I play, check it out. And I will analyze it for you, and maybe I'll visit your stream, and we could go over that game, seeing how you did with these principles.
Yeah, I would actually be down with that because what I'm doing on my stream now is at the beginning of every stream, I'm playing one classical time-controlled game. Right now it's just 30+0 because that's the easiest to get for a stream. But I think that would be a perfect time because I also analyze that one deeper, and then we switch to rapid play and just have some fun. So classical, I think that might be a good time to really test if I got this, and then I can go over that game with you. Excellent. I think that would probably be the best bet because I'm doing that tomorrow.
All right, tomorrow what time?
Tomorrow 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. is my start time for Pacific time zones.
So 2 p.m., that's 5 p.m. for me?
Yep. That is 5 p.m. for you.
I get off work tomorrow at 5 p.m. I will try to catch the stream, but if I don't, I can watch the VOD. And I want to see how you do. That'll be great. All right, so classical game
for tomorrow's game, I'll be sure to turn off my music as well. So if you can't make it, the VOD will be available because usually I get muted.
Yeah. I would like to. I would actually like to hear your thoughts besides just watching the moves, because I could just watch the moves by going to lead chess.
Absolutely. So I'll make sure I turn off my music for that game. Let everybody know this is a specific special training game. and they'll have to deal with not hearing my awesome music for a stream.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. That'd be very kind of you. Yeah, I use this non-copyright just to have background noise, because I do like the background noise when I'm not talking. It's nice to have a sound. People know it's like, oh, I wonder if my speakers are broken. You know, is his volume working? So it's nice to have music, but I like my VODs. I really do. And I usually upload them to YouTube. And so I use DMCA free copyright music. It's not great music. It's not, anything, you can't sing to it. You can't, but at least that way I'm not worried about it, canceling me out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I've been thinking about too, because I am focused on the beginning of my stream being so educational, because there is that classical play, which I'm trying to slow down and explain my reasoning, and then we analyze it again. I feel like it'd be beneficial to have that as a VOD in case somebody wants to actually see it as well. So I have been thinking about going copyright free, but my lord, is some of that stuff so bad. There's a reason why it's free.
Yes.
So I'm still looking for some stuff I can listen to.
But, maybe if you look really hard, maybe you could find something that would work for you. Yeah. I like classical music. So classical music is free because it's, at least the older classical music, Mozart and Beethoven, they have to be free because, they're not around anymore to fight for about it. All right, so who should I raid is a major question. I have Oki Chess right here. I'm trying, and D1 disabled. Now he was in my stream. He probably still is, so we could go check him out. He's only got one viewer too. I always like hitting up people that have fewer viewers at the moment. So I say maybe we go ahead and raid D1.
Yeah, I'm down to raid D1. Great stream.
All right.
And recently did some upgrading too. It looks really good. Got a nice chess background the last time I was there. Repositioned camera. He's done a great job recently at adjusting his stream.
Oh, good. Then let's hit him up. Hey, Itchy, thank you very much. I'm glad you liked the lesson. It's one of the best ways to I think to do my teaching. One is I just teach the principles whenever I can. We go over games. We go over concepts. But I like one-on-one lessons because one, it helps linear directly. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, I was thinking that too. I see that, and I think it helps a whole lot for you guys to see our interaction and how we learn together, because then you can help others and you can help yourself, hopefully. Cool beans, guys. All right, I've got to run. It is Halloween in the States, and so I've got to go carve a pumpkin, and then we've got to set up for all the kiddies coming for trick or treat. My daughter, as you guys have met my daughter, most of you have, she dresses up. I don't know what I don't know what she's dressing up as this year. She's done a pirate, she's done a witch, she's done different things. So we'll see what she does this year. Well, let's give D1 a raid. He looks like he's about to enter a tournament, so that's good. He's not, and that's good in the sense that means he's not leaving the stream, not quitting on me. So
I do that all the time. Always raid the channel about to end.
Yeah, right? And it's like, what? Why'd I do that? All right, here is, we're coming to see you. And that way I can also copy his name. And I've also done that where I've typed it in wrong. I think one of my very first raids, I put in the wrong, I just typed it in wrong, right? I spelled it wrong. It was like a 0 and it should have been a 0, but I used a O. And I didn't even get the raid to go off, and it went to no place because she wasn't even, because it wasn't a person. Wasn't even like, I didn't even get lucky and it was some other streamer. So live and learn, guys. All right, there's my raid. I will see you guys later. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Linear, you were a great student. We'll do it again sometime.
I would very much appreciate that. You're a great teacher. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I'll be messaging you privately about some things for the future. That's for sure.
Sounds good to me. And we'll see you tomorrow so I can watch your game, especially that classic game.
Sounds good. I'll see you then. Thank you very much for having me.
See you later.
Bye, everyone.